Hi, this piece is called Broken Thing. It requires a little bit more of a build-up than several other pieces for a lot of different reasons. First, this is fan fiction, so you likely should have played Mass Effect or know the universe. Second off, this is a split off from one of my universes using the same characters from Of Kittens and Broken Things. So I would suggest reading or listening to Kittens up to about chapter 14. I jump straight into the prompt with the assumption that people are aware of who Cara Fanning is. She's the shepherd of Kittens and Broken Things. It also has a bit of a loop from something that happens in the story later. So here's the prompt. Artificial Stupidity from AO3 gave me prompt on chapter 33 of Kittens, which is a place where Thane proposes an alternative setup for Kasumi's loyalty mission. The setup is that Thane has an alternate identity, Hawk knows that identity and extends an invitation to him, and he brings Shepard. Thane describes that alter ego as a vicious killer with no morals. When Cara doesn't like that idea, Thane makes a comment to goad or convince her to do things his way by saying, "If you're not up to it, we can dispense with the gun identity, and I will present you as a mute pet. Perhaps with a control chip, perhaps with her translator removed." So in that story, Thane is mostly teasing. But in this story, the prompt is, part of me really, really wants to see Thane at a villain party with a chipped pet. This is the same part of me that wants to climb him like a tree for saying he has no morals. I'm just saying, if you ever feel like writing some AU smut, I would read the hell out of it. Okay, so this is AU smut, where basically Thane keeps Cara Fanning as a chipped pet. It began as a one-chapter prompt that was basically supposed to stand on its own, but I was asked to write more, so I wrote more. I love these guys. I love Cara so much. I love the opportunity to write Cara as a badass thinker instead of a badass shooter. She's still a badass shooter, but she's got a hell of a brain. And I actually really love my version of Thane, what I've done and the way that I've built him. I really love this guy. In this story, he's evil. He's evil. There's no way around it. It is non-consent, and it is horror. It is sexual slavery. It is psychological horror. If Kittens was sort of an ideal universe where I got the opportunity to let Cara use the basic stuff in the Mass Effect universe and fix all the things, or make possibilities I would have loved to play myself, I loved pitting her against Thane, who had really no idea what he was getting into. It's not a love story. It's a lust story, and it's really a game of more and more extreme moves where they are opposing each other, but they are also attempting to oppose Reapers, and it becomes more and more desperate, more and more divergent from the real story. I love Thane. It's really more of a face-palmy love. He's creepy and he's horrible, and he's always a bad guy, but he's fun to write, and he's fun to talk to. As kick-ass as he knows himself to be as a person, he has to deal with constant rejection from this tiny, obnoxious woman who for some reason does not love him when he really, really, really wants her to. I'm not going to say that this Thane loves her, because this is a non-consent story. He never asks her permission. He just takes what he wants. Cara kicks his ass in ways I didn't anticipate. And he also gets his way in ways I didn't anticipate. So this is probably one of the pieces that I'm the proudest of writing, mostly because I had to up my genius game with both of these guys. I had to go as purely good as I possibly could with Cara, and as purely amoral sociopath as I could with Thane. Because of their level of genius, they're kind of well matched. This is my attempt at several things. I stick to the prompt. It is non-consent. Thane never gets her consent for many reasons. He doesn't really believe in consent. There's a point at which she's never going to give it. There's a point at which he could never trust her, even if she said she gave it. This is an abusive relationship in a lot of ways. Ways that are kind of twisty, because abusive relationships do carry a lot of intimacy, and I think they're portrayed often as though they were very simplistic things, as though only one person was ever complicit. One person does the hitting and one person gets hit. And I think that happens once. I think a person can be hit once or abused once and then can stand up and say, I'm not taking that anymore. That's in a consensual relationship where people actually have their will. There's a lot of ways that abuse saps people's will to make that choice. In a lot of ways, Kara is forced, both in Kittens and in Broken Thing, by Thane to make certain choices because he wants them, he needs them, and he is absolutely motivated to get them. And as much as consent is impossible for him in Broken Thing, it's almost impossible for him in Kittens, and he sees it all as fate and gods because he needs this woman. He wants to be a better person. She makes him want to be a better person. And in some ways, she does transcend consent because she's the epitome and embodiment of forgiveness. One of the reasons Thane adores this woman is that she kicked his ass at Pawn Aoife, did it so easily. Pawn Aoife is a Drell strategy game that I made up beginning in Delicate Subject. And in that story, he kicks everybody's ass forever. Nobody's as smart as Thane is. That's just the truth. And it's pretty much the truth that Thane has always known. But the story itself became a Pawn Aoife game, which in this case is almost comparable to Go, where you can flip one token and the entire board shifts. There is still a lot of love in the story because there's Garrus and there's Kara. The thing that Thane really never comprehends in either story is that he really conflates sex and love and makes them the same thing. And for her, she just purely loves people. And he will always hear that she wants him, but she just loves him. The same way she would love a puppy or a kitten or a Varan. It went a really weird way. I did not expect it to go, but it also grabbed me and moved me along. And I wrote it really quickly, a lot of it in the middle of the night, because one of them would wake me up and go, hey, we're going to do this thing. And I was always happy to hear from either of them. I want to warn you, but I don't want to warn you. I'd like you to make it a few chapters in. The first chapter is pretty bleak, but these characters change and develop, and I'm so proud of her. And I'm actually really proud of him, but I've got weird standards.